This video is sponsored by Pure Piano and Pure Upright by E-Instruments.
Today, I'm not only going to show you two super satisfying chord progressions, but later I will show you how we can extract the idea of why these chord progressions work so well and apply it to any chord progression that we are writing. And spoiler alert, the reason that these chord progressions sound so satisfying is the circle of fifths.
These two chord progressions are sort of like the major and minor version of each other. Let's start with the major version.
So we have C, 1, A minor, which is the 6th chord, D minor, which is the 2 chord, and G, which is the 5 chord. This is a super common chord progression, particularly in older music and sort of jazz music and show tunes, but we can find it in all sorts of music. Here's just a few examples of this chord progression at work.
Who knows how long I've loved you? Somewhere beyond the sea. My love has come along.
So what makes this chord progression so satisfying is because it makes great use of what is effectively the most satisfying musical interval, the perfect fifth. We start on C, the tonic chord, and then we jump away to A minor. So that's not a perfect fifth, that's a minor third. But from this point on, we then work our way back super neatly by interval of fifth. So from the A minor chord, we go a fifth down to D minor, that goes a fifth down to G, and that goes a fifth down to C. The fifth is, after the octave, the simplest and most beautifully resonant interval relationship we can have between any two keys, any two chords, any two notes. And that's why the circle of fifths is considered such an essential part of understanding music theory. Two notes that are a fifth apart have the relationship of 3 to 2. That means that the higher note vibrates 3 times for every 2 times that the lower note vibrates. And this simple ratio is what makes this sound so pleasant to human ears. We're not really sure exactly why, but intervals with a simple ratio create this satisfying sound to human ears. So going back to our chord progression, the reason this chord progression sounds so satisfying, sounds like we're going to the correct place, is because we're going fifth, fifth, fifth. We're going effectively around the circle of fifths. You could actually keep going round, and that's something called the circle of fifths progression that I looked at in this other video. But the two chord progressions we're looking at today are sort of like mini versions of that circle of fifths chord progression. They're taking advantage of a few steps without going on the entire journey round the circle. So that's sort of the major version of this chord progression, but we can have a sort of minor inversion of it. So rather than starting on C, what if we started on the 2nd chord in the progression, started on A minor? So now we're getting A minor, D minor, G, C. Same order of chords, but just starting one later in the loop. And therefore we're still getting that beautiful relationship of a fifth, and a fifth. We're starting on A minor, then we go down a fifth to D minor, go down a fifth to G, and then go down a fifth to C.
Talk to myself for hours, see things you don't understand. Dear, I fear we're facing a problem. You love me no longer, I know. This love has taken its toll on me. Honey, I can't describe.
you. When you're on a holiday, strumming my bass with his fingers, singing my life with his words.
The character of this version of the chord progression versus the other one, the first one, is that this one sort of starts away from home and then works its way back to home. Because although I'm referring to it as a sort of minor version, we're still ultimately, I think, in the key of C, in the major key. We just start on the relative minor of A minor. So this one's working its way back home. The other one effectively does the opposite. It starts on home, C, and then walks away from home. And then from the G, it can jump back home again. Throughout this video, the sound of the piano you've been hearing isn't the internal keyboard sound, it's actually the sound of Pure Upright by E Instruments, a fantastic mobile app VST instrument that you can carry with you anywhere and connect to your keyboard using Bluetooth or an audio interface.
Pure Upright is the upright version of this app, but there's also a grand piano version called Pure Piano, which also has a beautiful sound.
They've actually just added a brand new feature, which is sympathetic resonance. Sympathetic resonance is a big part of what makes acoustic pianos sound the way they do. If you want to know more about what sympathetic resonance is and how it's been implemented in this app, then do check out the video down below where I actually personally look at the new sympathetic resonance feature of E Instruments Pure Upright and Pure Piano. A way to really bring out the satisfying sound of this chord progression is to add sevenths and other upper chord extensions to each chord. So for example, Isn't She Lovely by Stevie Wonder uses the sort of minor version of this chord progression, but he adds extra sevenths and ninths and things like that to each chord in the progression. He's in the key of E, so we're starting on C sharp, and we start with C sharp minor 7. Then for the 2 chord, we actually go to F sharp dominant 7. So rather than the F sharp minor that you might have expected if we were staying in the key, we get the dominant 7 version, which effectively adds as a secondary dominant to the next chord. It's the dominant of the 5 of 5. And when we get to that 5, it's not just B, it's B11. Or what we can think of as an A major triad over the note B. And then we go to the 1 chord. So both of those chord progressions sound the way they do. They sound so satisfying and right because of the relationship of the fifth, the perfect fifth as we move from each chord, that consonant relationship, that simple ratio. And the thing is, we can effectively use the perfect fifth as a foolproof movement in any chord progression, not just the chord progressions we've looked at so far. So imagine we were writing a chord progression and we had begun like this, A minor and then F. There are 2 chords I could go to right now, which are effectively foolproof. They're going to work with this chord solutions, and they're both a fifth away from where I currently am from F. I could either go a fifth down or a fifth up. If I go a fifth up, I wind up at C, which sounds so right and correct. A minor, F, C. It sounds that way because of that perfect fifth. We're just stepping around the circle from F up to C. But I could go the other direction. I could go the counterclockwise way around the circle. So A minor, F, and instead of going to C, B flat. Now B flat isn't technically in our key of A minor, but it's working here because of that relationship. It kind of has to work. A minor, F, B flat, A minor. And I can take this idea even further. Imagine once we're on the B flat chord, we could then go another fifth away. So A minor, F, B flat, and let's go a fifth to E flat. And then I could go another fifth And you hear we're getting to some chords that really aren't in the key of A minor, but there's no moment where it sounded bad. It's just all kind of gluing together. Now the thing is, the further I get away, the more I have to kind of think about how am I going to get back to A minor, assuming that I want to, because of course most songs will want to keep returning back to the same starting point, won't they? But that's when we can think a bit more sort of practically and think, okay, I can jump back to A minor if I use the chord that's a fifth away from A minor, which is E. And that takes me back to A minor. So the fifth is super sort of useful for navigating around keys, for going beyond the key, because as long as you're moving by a fifth every time, you are going to write something that sounds good.